This is a trout fishery, okay? It's a cold water fishery and it's recreational. There's no commercial fishery here, and we're generally talking small trout less than 10 inches long. We have two native species on the Bitterroot Forest, the West Slope cutthroat trout, which is our state fish, and the bull trout, which is a ESA, Endangered Species Act, threatened species. Generally, West Slope cutthroat trout are pretty common on the forest. Like in North Rye Creek, 99% of the fish in North Rye Creek right behind you are West Slope cutthroat trout. Bull trout are not present in this drainage. They may have, decades ago been here. We have no record of them being in North Rye, but they're less common on the forest. Right after the fires, we had an opportunity here. We got approached by a grad student at Montana State University who wanted to do a post-fire fish recovery project. And the reason they came here was A, we had a lot of burn streams, and B, we also had a very good pre-fire database of mark recapture population estimates in many streams across the forest. So it would make for a good comparison study. Okay? There were three main questions that he was asking. He said, did our damaged native populations, the West Slope cutthroat trout and the bull trout, recover? And what he found was yes. Most of our population, this really surprised us, most of our populations approached or exceeded pre-fire abundance levels by the third year of a study after fire. We weren't expecting that. The second question was kind of what we were expecting. Did brook trout increase in the burn streams and did they displace the natives? And the answer was, in most of the streams, it was surprisingly no. It was actually suppressed. In fact, the brook trout got knocked way back, and in a lot of these burn streams, like North Rye Creek, they still have a presence, but it's nowhere near what it was prior to 2000. And then the last question was, did we see invasions of non-natives? Did they come into streams where they weren't there before the fires? And the answer was yes. We found non-natives for the first time in 7 of the 30 streams. What was surprising was the non-native that we found most of the time was a brown trout. That was 5 of those 7. And we only found brook trout and rainbows show up in one site. And the number of, the positive thing was the number of the invaders was low. It was usually 1 or 2 fish. We never saw them in any sizable numbers. Large Creek was burned at high severity, tons of debris flows, killed almost all the fish in the stream. That's what's interesting about this. Not in any single stream did every single fish die, no matter how hard it got burned. There were some 1,000-foot sections where we only found 1 or 2 survivors, but there were always some survivors. And wherever there were little unburned green islands, usually the numbers were pretty good when you went into those areas. So there's internal refuges within the stream corridor during a fire. These fish can be extirpated, but the West Slope cutthroat trout is a fire-adapted species that's pretty darn tough because there's not a lot of habitat to go run and hide here. They had to come back on this burn site.